By registering our guests in the back office, it makes us look professional. It makes our guests feel welcome and that everything is going well, just like we want it to. And it helps out those that are doing registration immensely. All right. Today, we've got a wonderful opportunity. Our instructor is Alden Sparks. I remember the first time Sue and I got to chat with him. This has been quite a while now, but he was an impressive young man. He had this can-do attitude that wasn't cocky, it was just positive, and he's been going in that positive direction ever since. And to help us get that momentum today is Mr. Alden Sparks. Good morning, Alden. How are you?
Good morning, Ron. I'm doing very well. How are you doing today?
Excellent, excellent.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for having me on here. Good morning, all of Renatus joining us on the call today. Are you guys ready to rock and roll or what? I know you guys can't answer me, so I'm just going to let that sink in. Well, anyway, I wanted to start today and train on the follow-up and adding value. So I'm going to pull up a whiteboard right here as soon as I can figure out how to do that. There we go. Okay. So, follow up. Specifically talking about adding value. Okay. Now, you guys have probably all seen quite a few different trainings on follow-ups and the system and the process that we have developed. Find the people, tell the story, build for events, and follow up. While follow up, we talk a lot about what to say and the questions to ask and how to close our prospects. And we haven't really been talking about adding value quite as much. And one of the things that I learned a couple years ago, right before I was able to quit my job, is that money is the receipt for value. Okay, so meaning if we want more money in our lives, we need to bring more value to the marketplace. We need to bring more value to our networks. We need to bring more value to all of the people that we come in contact with. We just need to bring more value to the world as a whole. Now, with Renatus, there are so many different ways that we can do that, right? We've got 54 full day classes. Now, in those 54 full day classes, guys, as you start going through and watching your education, right, learning how to do real estate, those things that you're learning in those classes are what you're going to use to start adding value to your prospects and to your network and to everybody in your life. Okay, there's over like 450 hours of value adding ability just within the Renatus classes. Okay, so as you start going through your essentials course, right, as you start going through the phase 1 and phase 2 of the plan, getting into real estate, you're going to start learning all of these things about how to be more effective with taxes and not have to pay as much money to the government every year, how to start finding real estate deals, how to pay off a mortgage in 5 to 7 years, right? Velocity banking, that's a huge one. Velocity banking is massive. Everybody I know needs to know velocity banking, okay? But then there's other classes, right? Like all of the credit classes. We can start adding value by learning about how credit works and starting to help people understand some misconceptions about credit and how all that stuff works. Then we move into the AIT stuff where we're starting to learn about actually doing real estate, right? Going through that fix and flip track or the rental tracks, learning how we can start turning retirement accounts into rental portfolios that add cash flow to our lives every month and live retirement on a cash flow basis instead of a lump sum basis, okay? And I just wanted to touch those topics so that you guys know where a bulk of the value is going to come from. Now, I want to also talk about some other value. We have the Audible account, right? If you guys have not gone into the Audible account that Michael Huggins has been so gracious to provide us with. I'm just going to give you the login info right here. It's Michael Huggins. Huggins 222 at gmail.com. Michael Huggins 222 at gmail.com, and the password is all lower cases. Don't make purchases. Okay? Get into that Audible account and just start listening to all of those books. All of those books that are in there are just so valuable. There's over 220 books that you can just start downloading and just download all of that knowledge and value into your life, and then just start sharing it, right? One of the big, real impactful books that I've read recently has been the 10X Rule, right? And the 10X Rule, the way that I'm taking the value from that book and adding it to my network is more specifically with my Renatus team, right? Just giving them the mentality and the idea and showing them what a 10X work ethic actually looks like, right? Going out there and making all of those phone calls and talking to all of those people and following up over and over and over again, just never stopping, always willing to do more, showing them that this works, okay? Now, I'm going to erase the screen, so if you guys want to take a picture of the chicken scratch I've got here, go ahead real quick. Grab my water bottle. So, in the follow-up, okay? Now, a lot of us, I think we mix up the follow-up with a meeting, and the follow-up isn't just a meeting. The follow-up it's a way of life, guys. You need to be following up all the time, every day, 7 days a week. You need to be following up, okay? Now, what that looks like, okay? I'm going to erase all this stuff. Can I just clear the screen? There we go. All right, so following up. Follow up. Now, I'm going to talk about follow-up outside a group follow-up or a one-on-one follow-up. I'm just going to talk about general follow-up. Now, the system, right, the 4 steps to building our Renatus business is 1, find the people. 2, tell the story. Number 3, build 4 events. And number 4 is follow-up. Now, if we just look at the system and think it's a linear system where we go from step 1 to step 2 to step 3 to step 4, we're missing the big picture, okay? We're going to be following up in between finding the people and telling the story. We're going to be following up in between telling the story and building for events. And we're going to be following up in between building for events and following up. And then guess what, guys? We are going to be following up in between following up and following up. Okay, we're following up our whole lives. Now, the way that this works is pretty simple. When we're finding the people, right, this is going out and placing ads. It's a P. Placing ads, networking, making phone calls. Okay, now while we're finding the people, right, we're telling the story and we're following up, because sometimes while we're finding the people, we place ads, right, and the ad brings in 10 leads. Well, if we make all those phone calls, let's say half of them answer. Well, if half of them answer, based on my statistics and my numbers, half of those people will probably show up to the meeting. Half the people that I invite will show up to the meeting. So if I get 10 leads and I make 5 phone calls, that means 2 or 3 people might show up to the meeting that week. Well, that's not that great. That's only 20 to 30% of my leads that are even seeing the opportunity. So if 5 answer and 5 don't, and we just leave those 5 that don't, then we're wasting half of our effort in lead generation. So we need to follow up. We need to keep calling these leads over and over and over again. Okay, now the same thing works with networking, right? If you're going out to networking groups, you're going out and you're meeting people, right? You're having conversations, you're sharing your story, you're just introducing yourself, you're getting to know people. But if you just leave it at that, if you just leave it at that networking event, that person for you is just going to stay at that networking event for the rest of your life. They will never show up anywhere else. You need to follow up, right? When you get their contact info, when you share contact info, when you trade phone numbers or business cards or whatever it is, make sure to follow up. Those people are at those networking events on purpose, trying to add people to their network, not just meet someone for a couple hours. Okay, so if we keep following up with these networking leads and our phone calls and our online ads and whatever else we're doing to bring leads in, we need to keep following up with them always. Right now, when I'm going out, and say I'm going out and I'm finding warm or cold market leads, right? I'm doing KSL ads and Craigslist ads and flyers and banners and all of this stuff to go find people that I don't know, right? The cold market lead generating aspects. Now, I've done a lot of this in my business. And when I started, I went through hundreds of leads. Hundreds of leads. I was doing signs. We were doing so many signs every single week. Every week of every month of the year, we did signs. I probably did over 5,000 signs myself within a year to start bringing in those leads. And I have lead sheets of hundreds and probably thousands of people now. And that lead source that I generated a few years ago still is paying me today. I actually just had a follow-up yesterday. I sat down and had a one-on-one with a prospect that I had that came off, I think, a sign or something a few months ago, like 6 or 7 months ago. And this guy, he actually he was working at the Davis Convention Center. And I found this out in the course of our meetings, right? He came through a house tour that I did, and then we sat down and had a one-on-one follow-up and tried to get him into funding, and then things kind of just fell out with him, and I didn't do a great job following up with him, and it ended up fizzling. And then I remembered, though, that he worked at the Davis Convention Center, and so about a month ago, I reached out to him, and I said, hey, bro, we have this event coming up actually at the Davis Convention Center. I bet you already know about it. We're having a national convention for about 1,500 of the top real estate investors from around the country. And I figured, you probably are working it, but I was just wondering if maybe you weren't and you could come and attend our event with us. I'll cover the cost of you being able to be there. And he wasn't actually able to be there, but he was working during the event. And I only saw him during the national convention one time. And we just had a really quick conversation. And it was on Saturday, the last day of nationals. And I had been looking for him the entire event. I was trying to spot him out because I knew he was going to be there. And I knew I wanted to follow up with him in person. And so I was looking the whole event, all 3 days, and I didn't see him until like the middle to closer to the end of Saturday, the third day of training, as nationals is about to be over. And I was just having to just be walking towards the bathroom, and he was walking out ready to go home. He'd been there for like 48 hours straight, and he grabbed me, and we talked for just a second. And he was like, "Dude, we need to sit down and talk about some of this real estate stuff again." And I was like, "Heck yeah, man, let's do it." And so we ended up finding the time. We sat down yesterday. We went to Topgolf, and we had a follow-up. And I was just asking him a bunch of questions, figuring out what was going on, and we got him back into funding, and he's going to get his combo now because of that follow-up, okay? Now, in the first part, I messed up the follow-up process with this gentleman really bad. I stopped following up with him, and I wasn't staying on top of it, and I ended up letting him fizzle out. Now, I went back around a few months later and followed up again and just kept that follow-up process happening and just restarted the whole system and ended up getting a sale out of that follow-up, okay? So we got to follow up while we're finding the people, while we're telling the story, while we're doing all this stuff. Now, let's move into telling the story, okay? So telling the story, a lot of the time telling the story, this is the phone call, okay? This is the phone call with our new leads, okay? This is sharing, this is the actual networking part of networking groups, right? Actually telling your story to other people. Look, I started working with this group of amazing real estate investors a couple months ago, and I'm learning all of these strategies. They taught me this way to pay off a house in 5 to 7 years, and I'm learning how to turn my retirement account into a cash flow portfolio of rental properties, and I'm learning how to get out of the rat race, right? Whatever your story is, you're telling that story to everybody that you meet, and you should be telling that story everywhere. Like, you shouldn't just be telling this story on your phone calls and on your networking. While you're networking, you should be sharing your story on Facebook and Instagram. Sorry, I pulled up Siri on my iPad on accident. Facebook and Instagram and what else is there? Twitter and all the social media, guys. You should be sharing your story. If any of you guys have been paying attention to any of my social media stuff over the last, it's really only been the last month, maybe 6 weeks now or so. I've started to post quite a bit more on my social media pages, and all I'm doing is telling my story on social media quite a bit more. I'm not going out there. I'm not going out saying, hey, I'm looking for people to get into real estate investing. I'm looking for people to join a sales organization. I'm not looking to do any of those things. All I'm trying to do is add value by telling my story on social media. So I'm talking about the new fix and flips and real estate deals that we've got going. I'm talking about lifestyle stuff and what my girlfriend and I are doing, and just everything within my story. I'm sharing that basically page by page as I'm writing it on Facebook. And now that isn't going to immediately transfer into let's see, Charlene Gray is looking for the Audible account info. Can anybody type that into the chat while I keep going for her? That would be fantastic. Thank you so much. The social stuff, sharing your story on social isn't necessarily going to translate directly into new team members and sales or real estate deals or any of that stuff. In your business, what it's going to do is think of it as a page in the book of the best story ever told. Okay, and that best story ever told is the story of your life. Now, every page is a continuation of that story. Now, remember when we were in school, okay, and most of us, the reason I say in school is because most of us stopped reading books when we got out of school, especially the story kind of books, right? Now, in those stories, some of those books don't even get good until the middle, right? Some of those books, like I've started books where I had to get into the third and fourth and fifth chapter before I was even like, yeah, I want to consider even continuing to read this book. And if I didn't get to that point, I would have never finished the book, right? That's what sharing your story every day on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and all the social media is doing for everybody that's paying attention. You're just sharing the next page in the book. And eventually, people are going to read enough of your story that they're just going to want to join and get started with whatever you're doing, okay? Now, while we're telling the story and following up, right, telling the story, the next step after that is building for events, right? We got this here. Build for events and tell the story. These two are kind of synonymous, because while we're telling the story, we're usually building for events, right? We're telling the story so that we can build for events. So let's say that we tell our story, we build someone to an event, and what are we going to do? Are we just going to invite them one time and invite them on a Monday evening and then just wait until Thursday for the epic and hope they show up and they're there on time and they found the place right and they like the information, and then they're no. We got to follow up with them, guys. We got to make sure they've got all the information. Now, every prospect that I have, okay, they get 3 texts from me from the time that they get invited to the time that they're supposed to show up for that first event that we invited them to. Okay, now the first text, right, is like a thanks for committing. Just saying, hey, thanks again for committing to come down to this event. I'm really excited for you to come down and meet some of these people and learn some of these strategies, right? And you can pick out certain people and certain strategies based on who they are and the story that they told you and what kind of personality type they have, where they fit in that drive system. You can kind of start tailoring this, okay? Now, the second follow-up text is, hey, here's instructions. Okay? Because it's really important that our prospects know what to expect and how to show up to our events. Now, while I'm giving out these instructions, I'm not telling people, you know, you gotta dress in a 3-piece suit or wear a tuxedo or, you know, act this certain way or be this certain person. You don't have to do any of that stuff. Just dress your best, dress to impress, come with an open mind and bring something to take notes on. Then I send them a little picture map of the slick campus with a big circle and a big old red dot of the building that we're going to be in. I circle the parking lot that'll be easiest for them to park in. And then I just share a link to the pin of the address for the building so that they can just click that, pull it up on their phone, and automatically plug it into their directions, okay? Now, the third text I send is the day of the event, okay? I send some instructions. I send that instruction text again, and I just send, hey, really excited to introduce you to so-and-so and so-and-so. They're really sharp folks, crushing it. I think you really enjoy meeting these individuals. If you can get there a little bit early, that'd be great. So I can introduce you to these guys. We can talk a little bit and get you all situated before we start right at 7. So if you can get there at 6:45, that would be perfect. Okay. This is just confirm the appointment. Okay. Now that's in between telling the story and building for events. And these same things are happening in between build for events and follow up, because in between Friday, we're going to have to follow up a couple times, or in between Thursday and Friday, right? Between the epic presentation and the follow-up, we're going to need to follow up with them a couple more times just to make sure that they're going to be there, right? I'm going to send an instruction text again. Hey, just so you know, this is where we're going to be. This is the building that we're going to be in and the room, right? Give them a little bit of instructions. All right, when you walk in, you're going to come into the same building you were in last night. Just walk up those stairs. We're going to be to the right. You'll see a table. You'll see us. That's where we're going to be. Find me when you get there. Let me know that you're there. Find you, get you checked in, and get you a seat, okay? Just really simple, but I'm following up. Just sending that touch. Like, hey, remember, we've got this thing, right? One of the things that I've realized while just going through my career with Renatus, trying to figure out how to make it happen and be more effective and be more productive, one of the things that I found out is that I learned how to use my calendar, and I was taught how to use my calendar and the importance of scheduling. And what I found out is that most of my prospects, and I think most of your prospects as well, don't use their calendar at all. Like when you tell them, hey, we're going to meet Monday at 6 o'clock, they go, cool. And they go into their brain and they go, okay, I'm going to put that into the Monday at 6 o'clock spot in my head. And then they go home and they fall asleep, and that just kind of gets washed out with all of the dreams that they're having. Well, if we just leave it at that and we don't follow up with them, then they're going to miss the appointment. We're going to waste our time, and we're going to feel like we're not being effective, right? Where that could just be kind of avoided if we followed up with them 2 days before, then the day before, and then the day of, just saying, hey, here, I've got this scheduled. I'm putting this effort in. I'm putting effort into you, making sure that you're going to be there. Now make sure that you're there. Okay. Now I want to talk about following up and adding value during the follow-up. Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Actually, I'm not taking questions yet. Don't ask me any questions. I'm going to delete the screen. So if you want to save this, I just screenshotted it myself. Just take a quick screenshot of that, because I'm going to need more space for the follow-up. Okay, I'm going to give you guys a couple seconds. Check on the chat here. Perfect. Thank you, Chris, for getting that Audible account info into the chat for us. That's amazing. Guys, really, that Audible account, so much value in that Audible account. Please dive into there and start just absorbing all of that information. Okay? All right, guys, I'm going to clear in 3, 2, 1. It's all gone. Okay, now, follow up. And adding value. And I think most of us probably have seen trainings from Woody Woodward or Mitch Nelson on the emotional fingerprint and the drive system, right? We all kind of know what our eyes are and how to start figuring out what other people's eyes are. Are they a director? Are they a relator? Are they an intellectual? Are they an executive? What are they? What kind of personality type are they, right? Well, we've learned a couple questions to pull that information out of people. One of the most powerful questions that I've learned to do that is, outside of work, what are you most passionate about? Okay, well, what are you most passionate about? Well, what if they tell you that they want to travel and they want all these lifestyle things? They want the big cars and the fancy place. Well, guess what, guys? They're a director. Now we can use that information to start tailoring the way that we talk to them during the follow-up. But guys, that's not the only bit of information that we collected by asking this question, right? We got what their eyes are, right? We start understanding where they fit in the drive system. But guys, just the answer to that question, outside of work, what are you most passionate about? Oh, well, what I really love to do is just build custom cabinets. Well, if he likes building custom cabinets, let's remember that and keep that custom cabinet, or the travel, or I want to give back to my community, or whatever it is, outside, whatever they are most passionate about, right? That thing that they are most passionate about, we need to use and remind them over and over and over again during the follow-up process that the entire purpose for joining Renatus and doing real estate and giving up all of this stuff is so that they can go get what they're most passionate about. Okay. Now, in my follow-up is, most of you guys have seen my follow-up probably. If you've come to the Friday follow-up at all in the last month or two, you have seen the way that I do my follow-up. And it's really similar. It's really modeled after Dane's follow-up. So if you haven't seen Dane's follow-up, then come on a Friday and watch Dane's follow-up. If you're not in the Salt Lake market, then just go to your group follow-up and pay attention to how the presenter is doing the follow-up, and then just copy it. Okay, that's what my follow-up is in my one-on-one scenarios. Now, the only difference when I'm one-on-one opposed to when I'm in a group is, in my one-on-ones, I'm asking a lot more questions. Okay, let's pull up my pen again. I lost it. I'm asking questions, just all over the place, asking questions. Okay, now these questions, the way that I structure it, okay, I'm asking questions and I'm figuring this stuff out, and all of my questions are qualifiers to find out where their intrigue is, right? Because what I'm trying to do is ask a question to find out what they're most passionate about, so I can go ask the next question, which will help them see why my next question is what it is. And then the next, right, it just gives me more information to lead up to the next question. I drew a 9 instead of a question mark, and it just is kind of this cycle, right? It's a circle where I ask them a question, they tell me this story, I use the information that they want to ask another question, guiding them through my follow-up, guiding them through, all right, well, this is the 3-phase plan. This is how the education works. Here's a question. Do you think that if you went through all 20 of these classes, as I've laid them out here, that you could do at least one deal in the next year? Well, yeah, I think I could do one deal. That seems pretty easy. And I go, great. If you could do one deal and my bottom line number is 20 grand, do you think that would make you successful? And they go, yeah, I do. Or no, I don't. And I'm like, great. What would make you successful? Well, I need to do 2 deals. Or I don't even want to do fix and flips. I just want to get a rental this year. Perfect. Let's go through and ask these questions. Here's these classes, right? Here's this. I'm going to ask this question, and all of it is filling in what they're most passionate about. I'm filling that into all of the stuff, right? So for me, like if I was given a follow-up to myself, okay, I would say, hey, outside of work, what are you most passionate about? My answer is racing cars. I want to be a race car driver. That's it. And so in my follow-up the whole time, I'd be like, well, do you think that if you could learn how to start flipping houses with a couple hours a week of work, that you'd be able to start racing cars? And be like, yeah, I think I could. And then, with this velocity banking strategy, as as we've laid it out here, and the way that you've ran your numbers in the system says that you'll have your debt paid off in 4.5 years. And do you think that might help you be able to start racing? Be like, yeah, I really do. I really, you know what? This whole thing is going to help me get what I want to do in my life. And so I'm going to do it, right? And then we got to follow up, and we got to follow up with the most important part of this entire system. This entire part of the follow-up, guys, is AFDO. Ask for the order. Now, guys, this is a follow-up process right here, asking for the order. If we don't get to just ask for the order one time, we're not going to ask for the order twice. We're not going to ask for the order 3 times or 4 times. We're going to ask until they buy, okay? Because this is the best product, the best system and service for them to be able to get started in real estate and really start making those changes and building their life and changing their lives and getting what their dreams are, what they're most passionate about. We have to ask for the order. We need to ask for that order over and over and over again, okay? Now, if we do this and we keep the focus on adding value, right, and adding value towards what they're most passionate about, towards what they want in their life, they will be more likely to buy from us, okay? Now, that's all I want to talk about adding value and the follow-up. Now, I want to just open this forum up for questions. You guys are more than welcome to come off mute or just type into the chat. I can see either of those. I'm just going to answer questions for the next 5 or 10 minutes, and then we are all going to jump into our day. So go ahead and start asking questions, guys. If there's anything I can answer for you, let me know.
Alden, Ron Heyer here. How's it going this morning?
Ron, I'm doing so amazing. How are you, my friend?
Yes, you are amazing, and I appreciate what you've done. Hey, I just want to say thanks for the golden nugget, because it's a new thought for me. We are always following up. I love that. It has to be a way of life. I appreciate that. I mean, I guess I knew that, but it wasn't to the forefront. It wasn't said like that. And I'm going to make that part of my life. I appreciate it, buddy.
Of course, man. Glad to help. Follow-up is a way of life, guys. Follow-up. Any other questions? More than happy to answer questions here for a little while. Let's see. Beth Colbertson, I saw that you're posting here. What is a KSL ad? KSL ad is, think of it as a Craigslist ad if you're not in the Salt Lake area. KSL is just our local listing service. Basically, you can post job ads and things like that. It's just like Craigslist.
Hey Alden, this is Joe and Logan.
Joe, how's it going? How are you doing today?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing fantastic, my friend. What can I do for you?
Okay, so I've got a few prospects in Idaho Falls.
Okay.
And so really the only event that they can go to is like Deslin Odell's webinar that she does.
Mm-hmm.
But I've sent them, so they've watched that and they've watched the follow-up webinar of Michael's. What would you recommend sending them as additional follow-ups to, I don't know, keep sending them more content?
Okay.
To keep them interested and engaged.
So, real quick, Deslin Odell, I see you here on the line. I believe that you were running a house tour pretty soon here, right? Could you give Joe here information for that? I'm going to clear this up. So what I would do is go to YouTube and pull up Mark J. Kohler. I think that's how his name is spelled. Mark J. Kohler. Okay. Now he's got these 2-minute tax tips that are phenomenal. And these 2-minute tax tips are what I use to kind of keep sending that intrigue and engage in my follow-up system, so that I keep adding value to them. Like I'll pick out, like he's got tons of these videos. So say he's got one on paying your kids, right, and writing your kids off, or he's got one on just starting a small business, or whatever it is. I would find one that applies to their system the most, and then I would send that over. And while I'm doing this and I'm sending these follow-ups to these people, it sounds like they've been through a first exposure and a second, like a follow-up, right, Joe?
Yes. Sorry.
Okay. So what I would do is keep sending these value add Mark Kohler tips, and you can mix in. You can go to the Renatus. Let's see, the Renatus YouTube channel, and find their testimonials.
Right.
You can send those, and then with every single one, every time you send one, I would ask for the order, just over and over again. Ask for the order until they buy. That's probably what I do. Then I would also connect with Deslin Odell. Find I'm pretty sure she's doing a house tour. I think I heard that in the announcements. The Four Pillars house tour coming up. Her and her husband. So find out info from them on that. I would have them come to there, and then I would ask them as hosts to just ask for the order in person for you. That's what I would do.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Of course. All right, Charlene Gray asks, what advice would you give someone who's just starting in Renatus to get moving as fast as possible on both the real estate and the marketing side? All right, well, to answer that question, my advice would be to jump into your courses as quickly as possible. Those, if you can get through, what I would do is go through your essentials as quick as possible, and then pick whatever track it is in the combo that you want to focus on, and just go through that. Get through those classes as quickly as possible, because that's, if you haven't gone through your classes, you guys, you're not doing real estate. Okay, you're not building anything if you're not watching your classes. So watch your classes first. Then, as you start going through and watching your classes, start telling everybody you know that you're doing real estate, right? Because you're going to need people on your team. You're going to need realtors, contractors, and money lenders. You're going to need inspectors. You're going to need all sorts of people on your team to do these real estate deals going forward. So as you get started, get through your courses as quickly as possible, and as quick as you can start telling everybody that you're doing real estate and start building that team, the quicker you're going to be able to get started. Okay, now Beth Culbertson asks, what is the concept behind doing a house tour? Is it a show and tell opportunity to market, show the Renatus real estate concept? Beth, what I do for my house tours, so I do a 5 pillars presentation at my house tours. Basically what we'll do is we find one of the community members in one of the investors in the community that has a flip. We'll go to their house, and then we bring a bunch of chairs, we set up chairs, and we'll walk everyone through the house, show them what we're doing and how they found it, how they're funding it, what they're doing to fix it, how they're going to sell it, how much they're going to make. Then I cover the 4 pillars of wealth, and then I go into velocity banking, and I do a close to a follow-up. And that's how I do my house tours. Now, Rebecca Belknap, what is your goal and how often to follow up with people on the back burner? So Rebecca, are you talking back burner? Is that talking like people that have come to events and then decided not to buy and are kind of just on like in a drip campaign? Is that what you're talking about? Perfect. So people that I put into my drip campaign, I drip campaign follow up with them, and I send them an email every single week. You can, I buy all of my email content from a website, and you can just Google that. You can Google like email content providers, and you can find people that will write up articles and blog articles for emails, and you can find people that are talking about real estate and just kind of general knowledge. I'll send those out every week, and then every time I get a new deal or make something happen in real estate, I'll make a quick blog write up about that deal and then send that out to an email for everybody that I have on my drip campaign. Then every time there's a big event coming up, like especially nationals or regionals or some intensives, I will call back through, I don't know, a really good portion of my lead list. I'll just call them. I'll just make phone calls for a couple days and be like, hey, you reached out about real estate before. I know it didn't seem like it was the right time for you back then, but we're having this other event I thought you'd really be interested in. We're going to learn how you can actually develop raw land and turn it into whatever you want to. It's coming up this Saturday. It's going to be 9 to 5. It's $50 and we're hosting lunch. Is that something that you'd be interested in? Right. So that's kind of what I'm doing with people who are on the back burner. Personally, I'm only following up with them for big events, and then I'm having my automated email system kind of take care of everything else from there. Okay. All right, guys, it's about 10 minutes of questions. Does anybody have any other questions before we get off the line this morning? Anything else at all? What automated email system do you use? Right now, I'm just using MailChimp. It's a free service. It works pretty well. I've enjoyed it. I'm getting ready to transition over to another CRM. I'm still figuring out which that is, so I'm not going to give you guys any more information on that, but MailChimp works really well. So, all right, guys. Well, if there's no other questions, I'm going to invite you guys to crush the day with me. I'm going to go out. I actually haven't showered yet, so I'm going to go shower, get ready for the day, and then I'm going to go run some follow-ups, analyze some deals, and make it happen. You guys with me? Let's do it. You guys have a good day.